Okay, this is super exciting. I'm here with Nyck De Vries, Formula E champion.
It's a little while ago, but
yeah,
yeah, thank you
but
for
I don't know,
reminding me.
when's the last time someone mentioned that to you? Do people come up a lot and say or not?
I don't know, but I'm not paying much attention to
Okay.
it. We're living in the present
Yeah.
and the future.
Is that partly because the sport develops so quickly with the generations that's kind of a different generation and now the cars are very different, or you're just always evolving your driving philosophy?
I personally, just as a person, live more in the present and in the future, and obviously, it's nice to sometimes be reminded of what has been done in the past, but it doesn't really entitle you anything today. So yeah, the present counts.
It's not going to give you a good race job today. Just the fact
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I guess from a fan perspective, it's like people compare drivers and say, "Oh, he's a champion, therefore he must be a better driver." But when the season starts, you're all again.
Yeah, I think you gotta perform all the time, and they say you're as good as your last race, and I think that's very relevant. It's I think in sports you're measured very often when you're competing, and so are we in racing, and we kind of enjoy that thrill of it. But we certainly got to remain relevant and yeah, always performing.
So let's talk about the present right now because we are here in Monaco, this amazing street circuit in the Formula E cars, which are essentially kind of narrow cars to drive. You can go side by side, lots of battling. You're not only getting close to the barrier, but there's someone else diving up your inside, squeezing you. Do you enjoy that kind of cut and thrust of Monaco in Formula E? Because people are looking at this, comparing it to Formula One, saying the Formula One racing here is a bit stale, but the Formula E racing is quite exciting.
I personally disagree with always comparing Formula E to Formula One because I think it's a very kind of different series and a series that should be appreciated on its own and not in comparison to, because I think it has a very different DNA and very kind of different format. You're right. Normally in Monaco, I would say qualifying does 80% of the job, or probably even more. But in Formula E, overtaking is probably more realistic and possible. Although I think we'll see this weekend that race 1 is a more, I would say, normal kind of race, and race 2 is definitely much more energy sensitive. I personally really enjoy the Formula E races. When we become too, let's say, peloton style dependent or in that kind of direction, I'm not a great fan of it. But like a Jeddah race 1 with the boost charge, when it's really on pace in Gen 2 style racing, I thought that was great.
And do you think the pit boost here is going to add to that? You think maybe to push a bit more, be more aggressive?
Yeah, it's ultimately about how much energy we get to complete our race. And I think if we bump that up, then there is a little bit less saving and there is a bit more merit in, I would say, the performance of the car, the balance, and how you execute your qualifying race.
And what's it like in the Mahindra setup this season? It looks externally quite similar to last season. Is it actually a lot of refinement? Are there changes behind the scenes? Anything you're doing this season to kind of push on at Mahindra?
Yeah, the biggest change is obviously our new powertrain. We have a different, I would say, own developed powertrain that has brought a good step and definitely helped us become, I would say, more competitive in top 10. And yeah, we are enjoying that step, and we are trying to continue to build on that and hopefully, continue to make steps and hopefully be there consistently to capitalize on any opportunities that may come our way.
And can you just explain your role in helping the development of that powertrain in terms of the feedback you give and then seeing it come back? What's your role from people who are watching from the outside very casually? How do you influence and develop that?
I wouldn't say that the powertrain development as such is highly influenced by us on a daily basis. Of course, we will have feedback about the powertrain that is taken on board back to the factory and looked at. I think there is much more, let's say, our relevant feedback is much more based on, I would say, software tools and car balance and race execution, where we can optimize and hopefully, I would say, seize the performance of the cars in terms of performance.
And you're a driver that is very experienced, but also, a lot of people saying in the peak of your career, you've had strong career in Formula One, Formula E looking strong, and WEC as well, with incredibly strong drives there. How are you able to drive these different machineries and adapt and use different techniques, or do you kind of have a driving style that seems to work across them, or do you approach them differently?
I would say the basics of racing remain the same across all kind of different cars. It doesn't really matter what kind of car you're driving. The principles remain the same. Obviously, Formula E is highly software driven, and there is a lot of, let's say, a lot of systems that are involved, activations and involvement, so that sometimes feels a little bit counterintuitive. But personally, I'm just a strong advocate for racing. I mean, if you would just do 10 weekends a year, I think it's quite little. And many other sports, you practice your sports every day on a football pitch or tennis court, and Formula One does 24 races a year. I just think it's important to remain involved in the sport to develop yourself and remain kind of involved and relevant.
Would you say that doing simultaneous programs makes you a stronger driver because you're racing?
Well, there's a lot of cross learning, and I think especially in WEC we obviously have a hybrid car with also different software systems that help us in different areas. And I would say Formula E is definitely on the extreme end of that spectrum, but there is definitely cross learning in both championships.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see sort of you driving multiple championships and what on the outside look like very different cars, but you have your distinctive driving style and people want to support you in these multiple championships. It's not something you necessarily have in other sports where you kind of stay in. You don't see football players.
I mean, NASCAR, they race in 2 series in 1 weekend.
Yeah, and the trucks.
Yeah, the trucks, exactly.
IndyCar drives.
Exactly.
Are you tempted to do some of that as well? Another thing.
I mean, I watched the Netflix series on NASCAR, which I thought was really cool. I don't know. I never say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're the type of guy that is up for a challenge. And I thought we'd bring a little prop here, which is this is a sim racing steering wheel. I don't know if you do much sim racing or not. I mean, you're so busy, but this is a wheel that you can use on a computer basically and play in front of the screen. I just wondered if you could tell us, and I'll put on some...
It's a copy-paste Mercedes steering wheel.
Yeah, I think it's basically inspired by the Mercedes wheel. But it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on kind of the button placement here and what's happening when you're pressing certain buttons, essentially. I think the WhatsApp button is that's something you don't have in the car at all.
No, I mean, they obviously sponsor Mercedes, so I think it's pretty obvious.
But I can hold it again, take it off. But for example, these buttons here look quite easy to press. What would you like to happen there in a car when you're pressing a button?
I mean, those buttons are often used for bit limiter, radio. They are not very interesting buttons usually for drivers. I think all those rotaries are much more usable for balance tuning. So you could, for example, do brake balance on this, brake shape on that, so that the migration of the brake balance. I'm not sure.
So brake bias tells how far it's forward and backwards on the brake.
Yes,
but the shape.
The shape, yeah. So when you bleed off the brakes into the corner, the brake balance can shift more forward or rearwards, and that shaping you can adjust.
It's very precise then. Very subtle.
It's more, let's say, influential when you go later into a corner and you have end of brake front locking.
Okay.
That's probably something that's solved. If you have locking issues, either front locking or rear locking, starter stop, then you would probably more biased to use the brake balance. And then all these could be high speed diff, entry diff, mid corner diff, engine braking. So those are tools that you use to basically influence and tune the balance. But these buttons are honestly, they wouldn't really do.
So it's more about these than the buttons, and you've got all these different positions, I guess, to be really precise.
Yes, correct.
And are you a driver that do you experiment at all in terms of I'll try something different, or do you stick to a plan that you've decided before the race or in the simulator? Are you executing something within parameters, or I'll try something different?
No, you definitely try to explore, but it needs to be relevant to explore. Like if you do push laps, you get 1 lap, so you don't have a lot of opportunity to explore. Lap after lap. In a race, when you feel that the balance evolves one way or another, you have a chance in influencing that with the tools that are available. And I think for a push lap, you kind of optimize that together with your race engineers prior to a qualifying session.
You still have some, I don't know if creativity is the right word, but some agency to be
Of course, you need to be adaptable, and things are always changing, conditions are always changing. So as soon as things are different, you need to react.
Okay, and just a final thing, while we've got a wheel here, we're at Monaco. We obviously have the iconic hairpin. and we watch in the cars, the wheel sort of seems to disappear. How are you, if I was driving a car, how do I get around that hairpin? Am I able to do it like that, or do I need to move my hands around? How are you doing
I
it?
think I would do that and then that on top. At least
Okay.
that's how I do it in Formula E.
Are you letting
I
go
don't
of
know.
the wheel, or are you holding it?
No, you're definitely holding it, but more like single-handed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're pushing.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you how I do it. I just do it.
Okay. It makes sense when you're there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, they changed the steering rack in F1 for
And with Formula E with no power steering, is that different?
Yeah, it gets a bit tough.
Yeah.
It gets a bit tough.
Yeah. And is it tough on the way back as well, or is it when you got the power, it kind of comes
No,
back?
I mean when you come back, it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah. The way to go there, it's hard, especially when you have to do it single arm. It's a bit tough.
All right. Well, that's super exciting. It's great to get your insight on what these buttons actually do, because there'll be people at home who are buying wheels like this on their computer because they're watching Formula E or whatever series and they want to have a go, and they end up with something like this and they don't know what to do.
I mean, they could set the buttons to like group changes because they don't have any buttons at the back. So you could, for example, if you struggle with understeer or oversteer in a particular corner, that when you press one button, it does multiple changes at the same time.
So, for example, the hairpin at Monaco, would it be? Could you press something that gives you?
Yeah, you could. You could open the diff, for example, or yeah.
Because you're going to be getting on the power with a lot of lock, for example, as well. That you.
Well, yeah, I guess you won't be getting on the power when you are full lock, but I mean, you want to turn in that corner, so yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other just things about Monaco?
I mean, sim races are way more advanced than me in that regard. So yeah, I wouldn't want to give them any advice. I mean, they know what they're doing.
They'll be in the comments saying, "Oh, I use this to do this," and then I press the WhatsApp button to let my kids know that it's time to go to bed or something like that. So we'll see. But interesting to get your thoughts on it. And best of luck for Monaco.
Thank you very much.
Mahindra is just going from strength to strength, and it'll be really exciting to see you really get into the points. And you always have so many fans, even we see here. The sport is incredible. So thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate it.